Crouch. Bind. Set.
Joe presents The House of Rugby, Season 3.
Hello and welcome to this week's House of Rugby. We've got some incredible guests coming your way and incredible people alongside me for the duration as well. Sean O'Brien and Adam Jones. Adam, it's been a while. I presume your homeschooling's finished now and you're back to rugby duties.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's missed you both. We've been going all right so far. So we've the last few month and a half's been quite the joy at the moment in Quinn, so it's been enjoyable.
Oh, I thought you meant within your family and the homeschooling, but you've gone straight into rugby. Your education's over.
Family's not important. The family's not important.
To be
rugby
fair,
is.
My little girl kind of just cracks on and just gets on with it. My wife's teaching and my little girl is homeschooling, so I get it pretty easy, to be fair.
Until you get into Quins, and then you've got to deal with all these kids.
You're homeschooling again then when you get in there with the boys.
Yeah, exactly. But it's yeah. It's
but you're third in the table. You're going well.
You're playing an exciting brand of rugby now, aren't you?
Yeah, look, I think I don't want to use the word DNA too much, but it's in the Quins' DNA to play rugby and offload, and the boys are certainly buying into it. But it doesn't. I don't think you can kind of play like Quins did when they won the league 9 years ago, where you just run from everywhere. You've got to be a little bit more structured these days, and we are. But no, it's been quite the shift in fortunes, really.
Pay and Sean, normally for everyone, no doubt.
Yeah, well, coaches definitely.
Yeah. Sean, normally you'd be gearing up for a big St Patrick's Day. Not this year, although I think London Irish are kind of going to town and delivering something to their fans, aren't they?
Yeah, we're going the right direction. We're not making it easy on ourselves, that's for sure. But we're getting the W's. This is the main thing. Talking
of all things Irish, we had the announcement that CJ Stander is hanging up his boots at the end of the season. Is that a shock, Sean?
Yeah, it is a shock, to be fair. He's only 30 or 31, I think, or on the way to being 31. And he's just got his 50th cap last weekend, so definitely a shock, I think, to everyone. But CJ is very about his family. He likes being back home as well. So I kind of, when I heard it and you read his statement, you understand why. Yeah. And he's had a brilliant career, I said, over this side of the water, and he's added an awful lot of value to Munster and Ireland, and really fitted in well with everybody and with the whole setup, and embraced it all, and has worked incredibly hard to get to where he's got to. So you'd only wish him well with the next stage of his life. I don't believe he's not going to play rugby again, though. I think you'll see him playing Super Rugby in the next year or so. I just can't see how, when he gets back home and gets settled, that he wouldn't continue to do what he does back there maybe at some point, because his injury profile is good. He'll have a lot more support around him, probably with his family, etc. back home, and his wife and he's one daughter at the minute, so they're probably planning on having a few more maybe when they get back home. But I find it hard to believe that he'll never play again.
And Adam, he's playing some incredible rugby just now, and he says in the statement that he does want to go out at the top, and whether he plays again or not, we'll soon find out. But if he is going out now, he's going out on a high.
Yeah, I think it's you always want to kind of leave on your. It's a bit of a cliche, but your own terms, isn't it? I think certainly coming from that situation, I didn't leave on my own terms, and how much it pains you. But it's a big call. It's massive. I'd probably go along with Seánie. I think we might see him in the Bulls or the Stormers or whoever. In that. But he's such a big part of Ireland. He's such a big part of Munster as well. It's gonna. I know the production line in Ireland kind of just keeps rolling these amazing players off, but he's been fantastic, and he's for the last sort of 6-7 years, and he'll be hard to fill. I think he'll be, because he's as Seánie said, he's never injured, and he just plays all the time. He plays hard, he plays tough, and he's a great ball carrier, and he'll be tough shoes to fill out there.
Sean, it was interesting in the statement that CJ actually mentions the fact that he never felt like a foreigner in an Ireland shirt, but when he did come over with these 2 kit bags as a 22-year-old to Limerick, he said he didn't really have a very good command of English. I mean, it has been some journey, but was he always welcomed into the Ireland frame, do you think?
He absolutely was, because I remember Paul O'Connell having a conversation with me about them, because I'd always be asking Paulie what younger fellas had they coming through in Munster, because I'd be probably giving him guff about the amount of lads we had coming through in Leinster. But he mentioned CJ. I think CJ had been in there for about 6 months or nearly a season anyway. And he said, we have this young fella, CJ Stander, and he's going to be really good. And his work rate, and he's after embracing the whole culture down in Limerick and the Munster culture, and he just fitted in really well. So like they embraced him straight away. And then I remember when he came into the Irish setup, like he was after playing, I don't know how many games for Munster at that stage, but he was like, he fitted in straight away because CJ's a very, very genuine fella, and what you see is what you get. And he does embrace people. He's kind of, I suppose he's like most South Africans I met are very like that, like how's it, and they get involved straight away, like with people, and some of them talk an awful amount of rubbish, but CJ actually didn't, and that was kind of refreshing as well. And that's why he fitted in, I suppose, into our setup too. There was no bullshit with him, and what you see is what you get. And as Bomb said, like, he works incredibly hard, is fit, looks after himself well, a really, really good professional and a really good person. So like, he was definitely embraced when he came to Munster first and foremost, and then when he came into the Ireland setup. And I know from being in Leinster the amount of respect that he had and that we had for him as a player.
Well, I said at the top that we've got some great guests coming onto the programme, and I'm delighted to say that joining us for quite a lot of this show is Jack Willis. Jack, first of all, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Recovering quite well from the operation, and yeah, just a bit of downtime and chilling at the moment. Not too much going on.
We'll get into your rehab in just a moment, but we'll probably make you blush a little bit because Sean and Adam, just give us your assessment of what Jack's like as a player, starting with you, Sean. Have you played against each other, actually?
We haven't. Not something I was looking forward to be honest, with the way Jack was performing. But no, I think I don't know how many, I think he might have got 40 turnovers against us last year when I had arrived. So it was something that we were keen to try and actually recently against Wasps, that we were like, make sure we look after the breakdown, not let him pinch another 20, because they came after us again, mind you. We got some success, so we'll have to ramp it up again the next day. No, it's I suppose when you're a bit of a rugby nerd like me and you're looking at different back rowers that are coming through the system, you definitely take notice of Jack anyway, and what he was doing at club level, and then obviously with England. So I was actually going to message you, Jack, 2 weeks ago on Instagram after we played Wasps, because obviously your brother was involved. Yeah. And then I said, no, I'll wait till I actually speak to you face video to video. And it was obviously sad to see what had happened, because you were just getting your tail up as such and getting going at that level. But as I always say with injuries, you'll be back better than ever, and back stronger than ever, no doubt, and back stealing balls and being a pain in the arse for every team in the Premiership and international side for years to come, no doubt. So
thank you, mate.
I'm glad I don't have to deal with you for another while.
Thank you, mate.
But Adam, I imagine Jack's someone that you would love to coach or love to sort of have on your side.
Well, obviously, but I don't like coaching against him. I do the breakdown of the Quins, and I did probably my best ever presentation around the breakdown just on one player, and it was him. It was I had to put so much detail into it just because he was such a pain in the arse. And you're going through the stats and then the opposite stats, and he's turned the ball over 44 times, and that's not even just the ones he hasn't got penalties for. And I couldn't get over it because you're a lot taller than me, but I always, when watching, and think the flexibility in his hips to be able to turn the ball over is phenomenal. I couldn't. For someone who can barely touch his toes, for how he can bend, how he can bend and turning his hips there. It was something I'm just showing Jay Flannery, the coach, and the other coaches, like, how the hell do we deal with this guy? And it was just basically try to chuck as many people in the ruck to get there before him and hope for the best. But he did get one right at the end of the game against us. So it didn't actually work. So no, it's phenomenal.
So your presentation was shy, is what you're saying.
And that was his best ever presentation. He said that at the start.
I do remember waking up the day after that game. In fairness, I think, is that the one that we managed to win at the death at your place? I remember waking up the next day thinking, Jesus, I've taken a beating. I've taken a beating from that one. What's your centre's?
Oh, there was definitely a target on your back.
Yeah, what's your centre's name? Is it Oosthuizen? He can hit a ruck, that's for sure. He's
a big bloke.
Yeah.
Jack, it's been interesting seeing on your Instagram your rebuild 2.0 and the fact that you're chronicling everything that's going on. Let's just start at the beginning though. I was actually at Twickenham for BBC doing that England-Italy match, and yes, it's quiet. And yes, it was picked up on the ref's mic, but my goodness, the shout of pain that you put in just sends shivers down everyone's spine. You knew straight away then how bad this was. Yeah,
I think after doing my other knee a couple of years ago, I think you know how serious things are quite quickly when you unfortunately get a bit of experience with injuries like this. And I did shout like a bit of a wimp, but I did the same with my knee last time. I think this time round, I was trying my best to get out of it, and I just couldn't twist. I couldn't twist enough to get out, and the speed at which he hit my knee, I just felt a crunch, a pop, and the pain that went through it. It also, my knee, the way my knee sort of opened up, it felt like my kneecap had dislocated, but actually what had happened is my knee, both my lower leg and upper leg had gone that way, and my kneecap had stayed, but it felt like my kneecap had come out. And that was sort of part of the screaming, was how weird that felt. It was a very strange sensation, and just I keep getting flashbacks to it. To be honest, it's not the nicest, but I've got a few months out to get over it now, so I should be all right.
We won't linger too long actually on that then, but the other thing that stood out when I was watching it back, not for any pleasure, but it was on your Instagram, you put it up there, so I'm going to blame you for that, was everyone's reaction round about you. Like George Ford flies back, Ellis Genge is head in hands, he looks absolutely shocked.
Yeah, I think no one wants to see an injury like that on the pitch, and as I was squealing away, I'm sure it frightened them all a little bit. But as I was coming out of it, you could see. I don't know if you've seen the clips of how far my knee does bend. I think it's not the prettiest of viewing. So yeah, you can imagine why they were a little bit shocked looking on.
And just for people who haven't seen it on Instagram, they can go onto your Instagram and watch it and your social media. But give us the idea of why you are showing this Rebuild 2.0, the fact that it was all about motivation.
Yeah, I spent about 18 months out last time. All in all, I came back and played a couple of games, and then was out for another 7 months because I had to have my ankles. I had surgery on it again. And I think there's times during rehab, and Adam and Sean will know as well that you get pretty down and a bit bored of what's going on. There's not really much that goes on that's that exciting. Everything's pretty similar day to day. And I felt like doing this, it gives a new motivation. I can change it up. It's an excuse to try and do sessions in different places, change up my rehab a little bit, and hopefully make it a little bit more exciting. And then I guess the other motivation is to try and give people a bit more of an insight into how tough it can get as an injured player. I think, not that I particularly want some credit for it, I think everyone goes through it, but sometimes I don't think it's understood how tough it is as an injured player. And hopefully it helps people out there that play amateur football, rugby, cricket, whatever, that are going through rehabs of their own, that they might pick up the odd tip or the odd bit of advice for keeping your head in a good place, and hopefully it helps one or two people as well.
Yeah, I always kind of thought that the whole social media thing with injuries, when I suppose a few years back, was like a big no-no. I was like, oh Jesus, I don't want anyone to know what's after happening to me, really, like, or the process you go through. But I get it completely now, and I suppose when you've gone through something like you have, Jack, as well, for that period of time, that length of time, I suppose the most I've ever been out was with my hip, and that's 10 months. But I was like thinking, you're accountable and you want to do something every day because you're actually tracking it as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I can assure you, I've been in that place at times where you go, fuck this, I don't want to go in today. I don't want to get out of bed today. I don't want to do a thing. Yeah. And you're not in a great place. So it's great that you're actually doing this and showing people what people go through in rugby in general, because I've said this before, because even some of my friends nowadays, they say, well, how's the body today on a Sunday morning or something after a tough game? And you go, oh, I'm broke up, my leg is sore, my shoulders are sore, my neck is sore. Sure, couldn't be that bad. That's what they say to you some days. Yeah. Couldn't be that bad. You have to, I'd swear you're after getting drove over by a Jeep like that. And they've sped off and just said, good luck, wake up in the morning and work away. So people at home don't get what your body goes through as a rugby player. I still don't think they do. And you know, it's funny on social media, you see comments about different games and even international games. Oh, they were physically dominated, and you know, they physically didn't show up today, and they didn't do this and didn't do that. You'd swear you were going out with a mentality of, we'll be soft now today. Lads. You don't want to get, you don't want to go in too hard. So it's I think it's brilliant insight for people to see exactly what you're going through, and it's obviously good for you as well to have. To go along the journey, but you have something there that you're accountable to actually documenting everything that you go through, and it's a great thing you're doing. I think a lot of people would take a lot from it, and know the highs and lows of the whole thing, because it's a difficult thing to go through. The one thing that you will come out of all this with, Jack, is you'll be the most resilient man in English rugby, hopefully, by the end of it.
I hope so.
In every negative, there's a positive. I've always thought about anyway.
Yeah, no, agreed.
No, I think with that, I think in this day and age, where people love seeing what sports people do behind the scenes and stuff, I think it's a massive thing for, you know, even if people haven't got the access to the physios you have, but if they can see little drills or anything they can pick up if they've had the same injury, I think it's I think it's a brilliant thing you're doing. It's going to help so many people, because, you know, everyone gets injured and don't necessarily have the advice we would have as players.
We're quite lucky. I think we sometimes take it for granted, don't we, how lucky we are and the access we get. My sister's boyfriend did his knee, I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago now, and he's only going into surgery for it next week, and he's done his MCL, he's done meniscus, he's done all sorts, but it's incredible. I was 12, I think it was 10 days later, I was in for surgery with the best surgeon and had the best care, and it's still difficult. So for someone that's having to go through it without the level of support that we're lucky enough to have, it is pretty tough. So as you say, if there's little bits we can sort of provide that hopefully help in some way, then it's a positive.
And Jack, because you've been through a long injury layoff, as you alluded to, 18 months, I think you said, because you've been through that once, does it make you more resilient, or is that just wishful thinking? Does it help at all that you've been through it once?
I think there's an element that's helped so far. Like I've now done everything you can do in a knee, because everything I didn't do last time I've done this time round. So I've ticked it all off, but I've learned a lot of lessons with my rehab last time about how to control the swelling, looking after the wounds better in that early phase. And I've already seen a massive improvement in the first couple of weeks compared to last time round. But I guess you're probably scarred a little bit mentally from you know what's coming. And the first phase of the rehab's difficult in the sense that you can't walk and do your day-to-day bits and bobs, but it's exciting because there's always changes. But it's when you get 4, 5, 6 months deep and you're squatting again for the 12th week in a row, and you're doing exactly the same exercises in the same gym, that's when it gets tough. And I think knowing that that's what's to come probably is difficult. But as you say, you've learned a few lessons already with having been through it before.
And obviously you've got to see how everything progresses. But at this stage, this far out, can you have an aim of when you would like to be playing rugby again?
It is such a tough one with timeframes. I think the surgeons always give you a number and tell you this is where you're aiming. But I think last time I got a bit caught up in it and got carried away. As I said on the sort of first episode of the documentary, I didn't really know what they were going to do when they went in. It could vary from sort of 6 to 12 months was the variation, and sometimes that's a little bit daunting. You think, well, it could double what the best case scenario to the worst case is double the time frame. But I've got a rough idea in my head, and hopefully I can aim for that. But you always get messages that you'll be back as quickly as possible, get back as quickly as possible. But actually, with some of these things, you don't want to, because you come back too quick, and there's so many players that I know that have just rushed back, and now they've got issues every single day that they've got to treat, they've got to look after, they've got to be doing so much activation just to get it moving, and then they've got to be icing still after sessions for months after getting back. For me, I want to get back to a position where there is an element of that you've got to do a lot of maintenance, but I don't want to be compromised at all. So there's no rush. I've got a long old time out, and hopefully the closer we get to that end, I'll be able to put a bit more of a date on it.
In the meantime, Jack, you can eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know about drinking what I want.
There with yourself. Yeah. It's time to kick back and enjoy life a little bit now too, as well as doing a bit of rehab.
Yeah,
we can't have the opportunity.
We can't even get out at the moment. That's the trouble. I'm all cooped up. So
get creative, Jack. Get creative.
What do you mean, Sean?
Yeah, I was thinking, let's move on. And, Sean, we spoke about this in a programme a couple of weeks ago with Foxy about the crocodile roll and should it be outlawed. Jack, I can't really believe I'm going to ask you this question, but, what are your thoughts on the crocodile roll?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I think, Adam, if you're talking, you do the breakdown stuff at Quins, you'd probably be looking at some players when they're jackling and think, well, if they once they're on the ball, if you hit them square, you've got no chance of moving them. So you've got to find a way of either hitting square, getting round the body, getting them off the ball, or an alternate way like a croc roll. I think at the moment there's not the number of injuries and incidents that there are with concussions, etc. But the severity of these injuries, whenever they do occur, are pretty catastrophic. So you've got someone like Ellis Jenkins, for example, who spent a couple of years out, and then myself, who's going to be out for a real long stint. It does happen quite regularly, and it's not particularly safe. I watched a couple of days later, Adam. I was watching your game, and Mike Brown made a class turnover on the 22. Got awarded the penalty. Everything was okay, but he got hit by the 9. He couldn't, a 9 or a winger couldn't move him, and then they've tried to crocodile roll him and went onto his knee, and I was looking at it and I was just wincing after what has just happened to me. I was like, I can't watch this, and I was like looking sort of through my hands almost, and he was absolutely fine, but the risk in that moment, it could have just gone slightly differently, and that's his knee gone again, and it happens so regularly that he was fortunate it wasn't quite as big a bloke as the fella that did it to me, but it just doesn't seem safe. And given all the player welfare discussions that are going on at the moment, I just don't see why it's still allowed into the game. But equally, we don't want to be seeing attacks being stopped every single breakdown because jackalers are all over it. So it's finding that balance, isn't it? But player welfare's probably got to be a priority.
As two back rowers, then, do you think the new law helps you guys, as in safety-wise, where the referee should penalise with the upward motion, or do you find refs still don't penalise it quick enough? Do they still allow the I think the croc roll of the engagement?
When we came back after lockdown, penalties were being given so much quicker, and it was so much safer. I felt safer as a jackler, but that quickly went. Even by the time we got to the Prem final, that had changed. I think they realised that the flow of attacking rugby is more, although we all love a turnover, and me and Sean would prefer to see that than most things, I'm sure, but being breakdown noises, but people want to see attacking rugby when you're watching it. So if every 2 minutes a penalty is being given, people get quite sick of it. So that's where the shift went back to almost like last season. I actually found that the last few games I've played in, that it was tougher than it was before they changed the rules, because it's gone back completely the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, they don't. They definitely seem to leave you stay there longer before awarding the penalty. It's like, I gotta be honest, it's very similar to, in the scrum where they, hit it through the mark, or feed in the ball. You'll ref it early doors, and you'll be so strict in it for 6 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like fuck it, we'll get on with the game, and do you know what I mean? So
that's the frustrating thing, I think, Bomb, what you're saying there, because referees, it's like anything that's new and hot. they'll do it for a week or two, and then they slip back into the old routine of it, and it's very frustrating as well that we're trying to manage new rules and train new rules and be in good positions and give referees good pictures, but then they like that's one of the things I've often said, like, you cannot be in that position for more than 4 or 5 seconds, and you're still kind of gritting your teeth and keeping your head down and go, is this guy going to blow his whistle or am I just going to pop out of this? And that's literally what it comes down to. You're like there going, you feel a bang and then you feel another bang, and that's the second lad after not moving you, and then the third fella is the one that does the damage, like, because he can get a shot on you or he crocodile rolls you.
I don't understand the logic of why they stopped the fight on the ground and the roll, like a little bit of a roll. I don't really understand. Do you know why that was brought in?
Well, I think the roll is to stop, make it easier for you guys.
Yeah.
Because obviously you and again, another safety thing. If I'm rolling into you and I'm like a 20-stone man, you know, and then you try getting over the ball and there's, you know, the collision as well there. You know, I think it was a safety thing and to make it easier for the. Yes, but you definitely, Jack. Sean, not so much, because I haven't seen him, Jack.
Years ago.
Yeah, back in 2013 maybe, but yeah, I think it was a.
Hold on a minute.
Yes, not so much a safety, but make it easier so you guys can, you know, post for the ball a bit easier. But the one movement's hard. Yeah. I get the roll. Yeah. But the one movement is tough. You know, I think you should be able to go to get it, you know, even without the roll.
Yeah. There's an argument, I think, for both in that thing, because I think if let's say if Jack runs into me and he's rolling on the ground, I'll actually get cleaned out a lot safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get me, like, someone will either clean me out straight away. I won't be in that position, is my point. Yeah. Where now they're letting people into that position but not rewarding them straight away.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah. So that's my point on that.
Thanks very much for the moment. You're going to join us later on in the show, so we'll speak to you in a few minutes' time.
Thank you.
So guys, it was another cracking weekend of Six Nations. What caught your eye out there this weekend, Sean?
What caught my eye out? I really enjoyed watching the England and French game. Just the way the two teams went at each other. It was great entertainment for a long period of time in that game. And I thought just the skill level of both sides and what they're trying to get to, that's where you see the dangerous element and the exciting rugby of both sides as well. So that was pretty good to watch. The Ireland-Scotland game was more of an arm wrestle, I thought. I thought Ireland obviously started quite well, but let Scotland back into it, and Scotland kind of grew in a little bit of confidence again and just snatched it at the end, luckily. But
can you do me a favour?
I would.
Do me a favour. Can you ring Tyg Furlong and tell him you should not be stepping like that from his own 22? Yeah, it was unreal. He's
making Ty heads look stupid now at the minute.
He's a big lump too, and he's not small.
But I've seen, you know what his nickname is, don't you?
No, I don't.
His nickname is the jukebox.
Is it?
Yeah, because he's same size as well. He's unbelievable on the dance floor.
Is he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he is now.
Well, you're a decent dancer too, if I remember correctly.
I am actually, Bomb. Yeah. Thank you for remembering.
Yeah, it must be that.
People don't give me enough credit for my dance moves, but I appreciate the feedback. I remember seeing them. Yeah. But that was obviously a special moment as well. Tyg stepping two players, one being Finn Russell as well, which was hilarious. But he's kind of on a different level, I think, in terms of his game, Tyg, and he's only. Was he back in three? That's his third game now in a long time. So he's going to get better and better again, which is exciting. Another name on the Lions squad list that will not be removed if he's fit. I think
my protege might have a case to be the starting tight end though. I think Sink's playing really well, and you know, I think they're pretty deep a tight end in the UK at the moment. So the Lions will be pretty pretty stacked.
We'll talk more about the Lions a little bit later in the programme. I was at Twickenham on Saturday enjoying that one, and I was sitting on my sofa with a glass of wine, very much enjoying the Scotland-Ireland result, probably till about the last couple of minutes. However, there were some great moments in that match, wasn't there? I mean, Romain Poit, we talk about the referees and sometimes the strange decisions that we made. He went on the floor about 3 times. Once his whistle broke, and then there was that great line when he said to Johnny Sexton, "Don't be scared, Johnny. when Johnny had to go back and speak to the rest of his team. So it was like a sort of flashback to what happened with Owen Farrell and Pascal Gauzier the week before. But I mean, to say to Johnny Sexton, don't be scared, it just was, I don't think it was the wine. I think it was just quite a funny line.
I thought my favourite thing of him was when he was looking for the try and his head was almost in the middle of the ruck, and he was
he's fully in a poach position at that stage.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. His head was like properly in there, and he was like, "Yeah, I can see it, no problem." I thought that was
Martin Johnson said he has never seen a ref so deep into a ruck that, you know, there's no need to go to a TMO. He was there. He could have touched it down.
He was so good, and he was
I actually like Roman. Everyone gives Roman Pot a bit of stick, but I love him as a referee. I think he's a great ref at times.
I love him.
Yeah,
I remember him and Paul James in a nightclub in Paris. Paul James made him get his top off, and they were dancing on the stage in the nightclub after a test match. Paul James kind of headlocked him, and he made him dance with him. It's brilliant.
He's a bit of crack, in fairness, Roman.
Well, head injuries in sport has been such a huge talking point really over the last 6 months. A group of former players have launched an action against World Rugby, the Rugby Football Union and the Welsh Rugby Union, claiming that governing bodies fail to protect them from the risks caused by concussions. And I'm pleased to say that joining us to have what is such a hugely important conversation is Alix Popham. Alix, you were diagnosed with early onset dementia a year ago. Just tell us how you are, first of all, now. It's great to have you on the programme to hear your side of the story and where you actually are now at this stage.
Well, thank you for having me on. It was a funny 12 months leading up to the diagnosis with different things that were going on, but having some answers after doing the results and getting the diagnosis and things that I've put in place with regards to my diet, exercising, giving up alcohol, has made a difference. It's not perfect. I do have my days where I flare up, or my memory is, my concentration is still bad. But having the diagnosis, putting things in place, I was really struggling if I was in a group situation. So Zoom has been really good for this because one person could talk at a time. But if I was in a group situation with work or a board meeting, I come out of the meeting thinking, what was all that about? I was struggling to filter out background noise and multiple people talking at once. So, just trying to manage as much possible with regards to my diary. I've got like a half-hour slots in my diary that I put everything in, that when it's done, I just cross it off. And that has definitely started to help.
And in all the conversations you're having, not just with the Welsh Rugby Union and the other bodies who I mentioned beforehand, you're obviously speaking to an awful lot of other players as well. Do you think that there are a lot more people in this situation than we all realise at this stage?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and that's with us getting our message, the boys who've come forward. When I started being tested, there was about 15 boys going through the testing. Now within the UK, there's over 260. There's about 40 who've been fully diagnosed. There's about another 100 who are going through testing, and there's more waiting to start the testing. And that number is growing daily. When there's a piece in the press or something on telly, I'll have a couple of messages or come through Progressive Rugby, the lobby group we've put together, wanting to have some answers for why they're struggling, really.
Adam, just give us a bit of an insight into what Alix was like as a player from your point of view.
We got into for the Welsh squad, probably the same time, I think, Pops, wasn't it? So 2003, we went on the tour. We were on the tour to New Zealand, Australia, and did you play any of the games up there?
I got my first cap against Australia. But I think we were in Fat Club together, weren't we?
We were in Fat Club together. So I think if I remember correctly, we weren't, me, you and MJ, the great Matthew Watkins, weren't involved in the New Zealand game. Yeah. And we had a few beers on the Friday night for the game, and Andrew Ho, the fitness coach, was chasing us up and down the street in Hamilton because we were trying to go pub to pub, and we would basically spend about 2 hours hiding from Andrew Ho, the fitness coach, me, Pops, and MJ on our first tour.
But I do remember being in the burger bar at the end of the night. We walked in, Adam had the burger about that high. I had to help hold it for him.
It was a burger. It was burger, bacon, and cheese, 3 layers, and it was about this big. And
I forgot about that.
Warren Gatlin happened to be in there as well, and I was sort of eating this burger, trying to get him to sign me for Wasps at the same time. Like absolutely pissed out of it. He didn't sign me. But we were just hiding from Andrew Hoare, the fitness coach, all night to come from pub to pub. It was great crack. No, I remember. Pops was always a massive hitter. Like we knew, the big hits, and I guess the one I can remember from. We played South Africa in Loftus Versfeld the year later in 2004. And it was when Shark Burger was just coming on the scene, and they'd kind of, he'd carry up off first phase and the line out. And I think Mike Ruddock, the coach, Pops was starting and basically told Pops that, you have to smash, it's so important you smash him. And first time Burger had the ball, like Pops, you could hear the collision in the crowd, Nelson Mandela was there, and even he was up sort of in awe of the hit Pops chucked in the Burger. And it was I'll always remember. I think you might have had a bang after that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's I can't remember. I know I played in that game. I've got the photo of meeting Mandela before the game, but I got concussed in the game in the second half. I hit Spees' hip. I've watched it back on video, and woke up in hospital with all the nurses kissing my hand because of meeting Mandela before the game, but. I've got no recollection of playing in that game, being in that stadium. And that's a lot of my career in a similar position. There's not lots that I remember. It's just from videos.
Because you always used to fly into tackles, and it was with no sort of care for your body.
It's
one of the things that I remember too.
That was that's what I was good at, but that's what I was told from a youngster. If you ever went into a contact situation, and that be in training or a game, if you didn't go in 100%, you could come out injured. Yeah. So that was my game. That's what I tried to do as much as possible. But what we know now is we shouldn't have been doing that amount of, especially when I was in the UK, it was 2 or 3 times a week that I was doing contact training. In France, around 4. So it's just those multiple sessions that was causing little bits of damage all the time. So if we can reduce that for current players, it would have a huge benefit when they retire. So everything we're doing as a group with the Progressive Rugby is to help the boys who are still playing for the future generations as well. And I love the game. I can't wait for the game next Saturday when Wales will hopefully win the Grand Slam. But this is just making the game a lot safer, and the majority of it is during what happens during the week, and that's what we want to be put in place. And there are some clubs that are brilliant with this, that are looking in and doing very small amounts. I know Quins do very little contact, but then I'm speaking to boys who are still doing 4 contact sessions a week with their club and playing on a Saturday. So it needs to be universal across the board, and everybody is treating the same, like they did in the NFL 11 years ago, and brought that in, that it is policed, and clubs are fined if they do too many contact sessions during the week.
Like I didn't realise it really, as a player, you kind of just get on with it, but becoming a coach, and then you have the meetings with the medics, you have the meetings with the S&C, you get specialists coming in and talking about it, these guys with gum shields at the moment who, come and do stuff with us, and to find the impact, it's, and why you have to pull the sessions right back down now to look after the boys, because as you said, Pops, it's like, you can't be doing 4 contact sessions a week. 2 or 1 contact is too much sometimes.
Yeah.
You can just... you can practice the skill of the contact without them actually going through the contact, I think, and this not miss.
I think that's one of the things that I actually, in Leinster, was very different. We didn't do any contact during the week. Very, very little, to be fair.
The best team in Europe for so long.
yeah, but genuinely, it would be on pads maybe for like a couple of minutes at the end of the session, like 15v15 or something like that. Very, no body on body kind of stuff, unless it was a technique drill or something. And when I got over here, I couldn't get over the amount of contact in training.
Yeah.
And it's gone full circle now, mind you. We don't do any contact during the week in terms of body on body.
Yeah.
It's all, our tackle tech, for instance, is onto a pad. It's a fella carrying a pad. We have like obviously live mauling and the scrumming element of it in short bursts, but nothing like no burying each other. As I always say, like we bury people at the weekends. If we that's when we do contact at the weekends, match day. We don't play a test game, or we don't play a European semi-final or final on Tuesday. But you have Tarzans in every team, obviously, and like I've been there, Alex, you've been there, Bomb, you've know lots of lads that are like that. But that's not what it's about. And I think clubs are getting more aware of it, obviously, Alex, but a lot more has to be done about it. Because as you say, there is clubs still over here and France and everywhere else that are boning each other on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and then again on the weekend.
Definitely.
I think thankfully the Tuesday forward session of years gone by, the hour-long scrum, maul, breakdown, contact is a thing of the past now.
Yeah.
It's
with the scrummage machine up against a tree or a wall. Which, do you know what I mean, is bonkers when you think back at things that used to go on.
Push it up.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we want to bring in is the MOT for players. So there's the 10 most common injuries in rugby that they would be tested every year when you get your first contract, or if a player's in contract now, they would get baseline tested, and included in that would be a DTI scan, and then like a boxer has every year, because some of the boys who've been diagnosed are showing signs that would definitely be picked up during the career. And boys just need to be looked after, and then if they've got a decision, at least they know in then, and not in 10, 15 years with maybe 5 years of rugby on top of that damage add into it. So it's just to make it safer for everybody.
Yeah, and actually that's something that all racing drivers get as well, but started off in America. But when, we saw a crash at the end of last season in Formula One, and it came out last week that it was 64G. I mean, 64 times your body weight slamming into a wall is colossal. And if you don't have the baselines, you don't know the amount of damage. And that brings us on to the app that you're working on. Mindset for Dementia, Alex. Tell us about this.
Well, they approached me and asked me to be ambassador for Mindset. I did the 4-minute test game, whatever you want to call it. It's great fun whilst you're doing the app, but it's very easy to use. I'm reading some notes here because I'll forget if I didn't have them in front of me. But the more people that use this, download the app, the more we can do to help and understand dementia, leading to better care. So yes, at the moment they're specialising in sport. And any level from grassroots all the way up to seniors and professional to use it, but the wider population as well to download it. It works on artificial intelligence of your eye movement, and then I think you would redo the test every 3 to 6 months, and then would progress and would pick up any signs. It's all anonymous. But if they do pick anything up, you will receive a message to say to speak to somebody more in more detail about what was showing. But I think that the more information we know on this subject, it can help us. You Sean, because you're still playing, but the population and anybody involved in sport, and the more we know about it, because dementia is fast becoming the biggest killer in the UK. And the more we know about it, the more we can do research and help people like myself who are struggling with it.
And Alex, before we let you go, you did mention the match at the weekend, which is very much on your horizon. How impressed have you been with Wales so far, considering where they were 12 months ago?
It's the new coach has come in, Pivox. Obviously, his transition period, the style of play he likes to play, and what he was doing with the Scarlets and the rugby everybody was watching and enjoying. Obviously, Test rugby is a lot more critical, and if you make a mistake, and we paid for that during the autumn because not everybody was singing from the same injury, but it just seems to be happening a lot better, and the systems that they were trying to play in the autumn are starting to click. I think their discipline has been brilliant. I think it cost us in the autumns, but with regards to the two games, we're we went down to 40. The opposition went down to 14 men. That for a team at the moment, you've got to be disciplined to keep 15 players on the pitch and everything across the board. So I think they're emphasising on that, and it's going to be a great game, hopefully on Saturday with the way the French are playing.
The rules nowadays, Alex, mightn't suit you as well.
Oh mate, I'd be banned, wouldn't I? I'd be.
Pop scored a belter in 2007 out in France.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I snuck up the front of a line out. Yeah, and it was a great stadium. The atmosphere, obviously, there's no crowds there at the moment, but yeah, hopefully a Wales win and keeps us in good stead. But fingers crossed.
Adam, you don't feel left out. We're going to talk about Wales with you in just a moment. But Alex, thank you so much for your time. Really important message, and it's great to have you to be able to share that with us.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Cheers, Pops.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, Adam, I promised you'd get your say on Wales. What a difference a year makes.
Yeah, I think a lot of everyone else, apart from the sort of people who know Welsh rugby, would have, it was going to be a little bit of a settling period. This is the team that won the Grand Slam in 19 and got to the semi-final, and they haven't really lost too many players. But I think it just shows, when we do get in a role, I think obviously Ireland would complain they had a man sent off, and Scotland would complain they had a man sent off, and they would have won otherwise. But but they didn't. So, but I think when we get in a role in the Six Nations, it's we go well, and we're well led by a sort of senior group of players now. We've got Al, John Davis, Bigger, Ken Owens, Toby, Tips. There's a massive sort of senior group, and you're bringing the Zamits through, Yashidis, these type of guys as well. And I guess at the beginning of the season, I would say I was surprised that it's happened, but I think Alwyn could go and win his 4th Grand Slam on the weekend. That's one more than Ireland have ever won. So it's like it's phenomenal, And
are you trying to get into? Are you trying to get a reaction off me, by the way, Bam?
I wouldn't try to get a reaction. You should never. No, I just go.
That's a fact.
I know it's a fact, but I'm not always,
and we punch much. We punch way above our average. I think we've got 50,000 registered rugby players in Wales, and you look at England, they got 150,000, Ireland 130, France 400,000. We punch way above our average, and so no, we're obviously we're a passionate, proud nation, and and it's giving the country in this sort of crap shitty time something to cheer for again. And I don't know many people saw it come in, but this team is kind of it hasn't gone back to Gat sort of type, but it's still a resilient defence. They never say die. They'll go for the 80 minutes because they're so they're big and they're fit, so they it's taken them a long way.
Yeah, they look so dangerous. I don't think France will beat them. I know France I've said France from the start of the tournament are the common team. Like, I just don't think they'll beat Wales this weekend. Not in this situation. The Wales are so hard to break. I will say that about them, and they have been like that over the years. But they look really, really good in all areas at the minute. So I don't think France will beat them.
And just a word on Wayne Pivac. Ken Owens said that he's proved his critics wrong. He deserves credit for sticking to those coaching philosophies when everybody from the outside who is shouting in, and he blocked out the noise and kept going. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
look, I think as a coach, you back yourself. You back, he's done well in the Scarlets. I think, he did a couple of years ago, he did exceptionally well last week, got the job, and the way they played. Stephen's a big part of it, and John Humphreys as well, and Gethin coming in as defence coach is probably a bit of a masterstroke, really, because you could kind of see there wasn't that intensity in the autumn, but now Gethin, a prop forward, who was one of the best defenders you could ever come across, and he was a coach when he was a player. He'd have opinions on everything from kicking game to exits or whatever it was. So he's been a masterstroke there, and you. Defence isn't overly technical, but if you play for the defence coach, or he's even if he's got that aura around him, like a Sean Edwards, like a Faz, it tends to get the best out of your team, and obviously they got that in Geth, and they've done incredibly well, and touch wood we can finish off in the weekend.
Okay, let's bring Jack back in to the show. Jack, we have had a feast of Six Nations at the weekend, but what's your take on it? When you've been injured, being part of the Six Nations, do you sit at home and watch it, or do you just avoid it completely?
Yeah, no, I was watching at the weekend. It was good to see the boys get the result. I think it was definitely coming. Probably a little bit of a frustrating one against Wales. Adam might not agree. I think that Wales deserved it, but there was
dominated.
There was a few things that probably didn't really go England's way, with a few referee calls and things like that. But they definitely addressed the discipline side of things against France and brought a new level of energy. And France are a very good team, so that's a proper result, that one.
We're in lockdown. There's not much going on. You're obviously having to do rehab, but what else do you do to sort of keep your mind occupied? Because I think the last time you got pretty involved and you've set up businesses and, you still do your education. Yeah, so I've
last time round during my injury, I did a plumbing course, an evening course with my brother on like a Monday and Tuesday night. I've always had a passion for the property side of things, so I wanted to have a bit of an insight into the construction and building side of it. And then about a year or so ago, I set up a property agency company with my business partner Alex Lundberg, who I used to play with at Wasps, and he had to retire due to concussion. So quite a sad story really, but hopefully we can turn it into a bit of a positive and keep it rolling. I think it makes sense, sort of the story of having things and being proactive alongside your rugby, because of things like this that can happen and things like the concussion that he suffered that ended his career. So yeah, I probably spent my early years up until I did my first injury, sort of sat around playing PS4 into the early hours of the morning and not really being very productive. But you don't really listen to anyone that tells you, you need to study or you need to go and get some work experience until it hits home a little. But it's
now you're fitting shower trays and sinks.
I did actually fit a tap at my parents, and my mum sent me a FaceTime. Well, she FaceTimed me about a week later, and she was like, "Look at this! It's pissing water through underneath the sink." I was like, "You'll have to get a proper plumber in, Mum. I just gave it my best crack. Sorry about that."
Don't charge too much for the call outs, Jack.
But Sean, you sort of subscribe to that, don't you? Because you've got lots of different business interests as well as your rugby, and we have talked about this in House of Rugby before, that rugby is a great thing, but for people who are forced to stop, like Jack said, they are, that is their identity, and really, there needs to be more than that, doesn't there?
Yeah, there does. It's very important. It's something I'm actually back doing another business degree at the minute, and I missed the last 2 weeks of it every Wednesday and Thursday evening, like 4 hours on Zoom at the minute. And because I had a calf strain, I was like, no, I can't get my head into this yet. So I'm actually getting onto it tomorrow night for the first time. So I missed a couple of weeks, but you kind of have to give yourself that kick in the arse to say, right, get going at this now and get this under your belt and have those few bits and pieces and be smart with investing in things as you go through your career and stuff that suits you. And like Jack says, the property side of it, but plumbing side of it, I done an apprenticeship in carpentry, done nearly a year of that before I went in to Leinster, etc. And Dad was a builder, so I was well used to certain things like that. So if anyone needs a door hung or a floor put down, I'm your man. I could still manage that type of thing, or build you a dog kennel or a house or something. I throw my hand at anything nowadays. But it is important. It is important to do stuff that you enjoy. And it's funny when you look back and you look at some of your ex-teammates. Jack McGrath, for instance, recently is gotten heavily involved in carpentry too, and he's put up panels in his house. He's made bee boxes and bits and pieces like that. And you see Peter O'Mahony, for instance, is out in his garden the whole time. What a sad life he lives, but he's probably going to go down that route afterwards. So you can see lads when they start to get through the later stages of their career, they're starting to think about afterwards, because it could stop at any time. Like Jack said, you're one injury away from it. So it is an important thing, and I think DRPA and stuff do lots for us and have different things in places, but it can always be better. I think it can always be better.
Yeah, it's Jack. It's great that you've gone early on it, because Sean's saying that a lot of people at the end of their career are doing it, but it's great that you've got these interests early on that should set you up for the rest of your life, and particularly when rugby stops.
Yeah, I think
which will hopefully be in a very long time.
Yeah, hopefully got a few years in the legs. I'm saving a few miles at the moment, so yeah. But I think if it wasn't for the injuries I've had, I probably wouldn't have done it, and that's the sort of scary thing is there's so many players that don't actually get these types of injuries throughout their career or have a wake-up call. You obviously don't want them. You want to go through your whole career absolutely fit as a whistle. But it's the trouble is you don't have those wake-up calls and those moments where you have a bit of a realisation that actually it won't go on forever. So for me, I've tried to turn those injuries into a positive.
If all else fails, Jack, I'll build the houses and you plumb them.
Jesus, who are you going to sell them to?
Unless you're listening to Jack's mum.
They'll be blowing down in the wind.
When I say houses, I mean garden sheds,
garden sheds
and tree
with
houses for kids, maybe. Yeah, something like that, something easy.
Yeah, I like it.
You did say dog kennels. I don't think dog kennels need taps, Sean.
Why?
Oh, your dog's very clever. Just washing its paws.
Did you ever see a dog licker? The dog licker is actually you put a tap in their run, and they lick the end of it, and fresh water comes the whole time.
Yeah, you get that in horse stables actually. When the horses drink their water, the things refill. But that is a relief, because when you mentioned dog liquor, I didn't know I was about to leave the call, so that is a huge relief. And on that note, I think we should probably leave this. Jack, thanks so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, Jack. Boy.
Thanks very much. Yeah, great to have Jack on the show, and also Alix as well. A really emotional interview, and to hear what he's going through. And just to remind you, he is working with Mindset for Dementia, which is an app using AI to detect the early warning signs of dementia. The Sporting Mindset campaign is aiming to reach 50,000 downloads in order to turbocharge the understanding of the link between concussion and dementia. So you can download that if you wish. But that is all we've got time for on the programme. Thank you very much, gents, and thank you very much to you at home for watching and for listening. We'll see you all next week.
You've been watching The House of Rugby Season 3 on Joe.